Good city form, as proposed by Kevin Lynch, is an urban design theory based on the connection between human values and the physical city. In a sense, his theory connects statements about how a city works with statements about its goodness. Let's get to know Kevin Lynch first. Kevin Lynch was an American urban planner who lived from 1918 to 1984. He studied at Yale University and then left to work under Frank Lloyd Wright, where he was highly influenced by him and eventually earned his degree from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He first started working as an urban planner and then joined MIT as a professor in 1949, though he did maintain his urban planning and design practice in partnership with Stephen Carr. His career was in the field of city planning through empirical research on the ways in which individuals perceive and navigate the urban landscape. He authored a number of books where he explored urban environments through time and how urban environments affect people and children particularly, and how to harness human perception of the physical form of cities as the basis for good urban design. Three of his influential books are The Image of the City, published in 1960, What Time Is This Place, published in 1972, and Good City Form, published in 1981. Good City Form, which was published in 1981, is Lynch's last published book on his urban design theory, where he aims to answer what he refers to as a naive question, which is, what makes a good city? His book discusses the form of a city and how it is made, and describes three theories which he proves inadequate, and then presents his theory of a good city form using what he refers to as dimensions of performance, in addition to meta-criteria. The performance dimensions are identified as vitality, sense, fit, access, control, where efficiency and justice are the meta-criteria that operate on all 5 dimensions. So let's get into the details of Lynch's urban design theory. I'll be showing quotes from his book every now and then. The premise of good city form relies on this: decisions about urban policy allocation of resources, where to move or how to build something, must use norms about good and bad. Where Kevin Lynch explains the spatial experience of a city, that is, its form and how it is made using 3 theories, the planning theory explains how complex public decisions about city development are made, and it extends to political and economic thought. So in a sense, this is also known as decision theory. There's also the functional theory, which explains why cities take the form they do, and how that form functions using different lenses to reflect the historical processes, human ecosystem, economic systems, and sociological context. And there's the normative theory, which deals with generalizations of the connections between human values and settlement form, which is the real focus of Lynch's work, and allows us to be able to identify a good city. These identifiable characteristics of city form and function is the reason he has referred to elements of his theory as dimensions of performance. Let's see them. This image here is of a fruit and vegetable market vendor. What does it represent? Look at this healthy food, its benefits, and how colorful it all is. The first performance dimension is vitality. Vitality is the degree to which the form of the settlement supports the vital functions, the biological requirements, and capabilities of human beings. Above all, how it protects the survival of the species. There are 3 principal features of vitality, and these are sustenance, safety, and consonance. Sustenance is the availability of all elements to sustain life. Lynch says there should be an adequate supply of food, energy, water, and air, and a proper disposal of waste. That is, the throughput must be adequate to sustain life. Safety considers the psychological, social, and physical safety. A good settlement is one in which hazards, poisons, and diseases are absent or controlled, and the fear of encountering them is low. The attainment of safety involves managing or avoiding problems of air and water pollution, contamination of food, presence of poison, the suppression of disease, the reduction of bodily accidents, defenses against violent attack, prevention of flood and fire, resistance to earthquake, and treatment available to someone who has been exposed to any of these hazards. The list is long. Consonance is where the spatial environment should be consonant with the basic biological structure of the human being, like maintaining temperature. It should support natural rhythms, sleeping and waking cycles, and should provide optimum sensory input to see and hear well. This all involves ergonomic design and encouraging active use of the body. This image here is inside St. Patrick's Cathedral. Look at the size and imagine what takes place inside and how the architecture all comes together. The second performance dimension is sense. Sense is the degree to which the settlement can be clearly perceived and mentally differentiated and structured in time and space by its residents, and the degree to which that mental structure connects with their values and concepts. The match between environment, our sensory and mental capabilities, and our cultural constructs. This is the joint between the form of the environment and the human processes of perception and cognition. It depends on the form of the space, quality, and human activity. There are 5 characteristics of sense, which are identity, structure, congruence, transparency, and legibility. Identity is a sense of place. It is the extent to which a person can recognize or recall a place as being distinct from other places, as having a vivid or unique or at least particular character of its own. Structure is, at a small scale, how the parts fit together, and at a large scale is the sense of orientation, knowing where one is, which implies knowing how other places are connected to this place. In Lynch's words, structure, which is at the scale of small places, is the sense of how its parts fit together in large settlements, is the sense of orientation. Congruence is the match of an environmental structure to a non-spatial structure. For example, is a visible activity congruent with the rhythm of social activity? It's that match between place and function. It's the identification or recognition of the place by form of city or building. Transparency is being able to directly perceive the operation of the various technical functions, activities, and social and natural processes that are occurring. For example, seeing people at work, or seeing what a truck is carrying, or how the sewage is being drained away. Lynch refers to it as one can directly perceive the operations of the various technical functions, activities, and social and natural processes that are occurring within the settlements. Legibility is where the inhabitants of settlement are able to communicate accurately to each other via its symbolic physical features. The urban environment is a medium of communication displaying both explicit and implicit symbols such as, for example, flags, lawns, signboards, gates, columns, which inform us perhaps about ownership, status, group, affiliation, and hidden functions. The image here is the inside of a busy shopping mall, showing people going up and down the escalators. Think of the way stores change, the flow of people, and future expansions of these shopping places. The third performance dimension is fit. Fit is the degree to which the form and capacity of spaces, channels, and equipment in a settlement match the pattern and quantity of actions that people customarily engage in or want to engage in. That is the adequacy of the behavior settings, including their adaptability to future action. In other words, it's how well a settlement's spatial and temporal matters match customary behavior of its inhabitants. It is seen in the form of comfort, satisfaction, and efficiency, and the match is created usually by adjusting the place or action or both. Which implies that fit requires adaptability, and that can be observed through manipulability, the extent to which setting can change its use or form, and reversibility, or rather resilience, which is concerned with avoiding future dead ends by moving into the future through a net of diverging possibility, but at a cost for this undoing. For example, low-density suburbs may be easily reversible, relatively speaking. Some ways to increase adaptability include leaving excess capacity and allowing room to grow, increasing access, reducing interference between the parts and using a modular approach as a means to reuse building materials, for example. This is an image of the Millennium Bridge taken from the Tate Modern in London, crossing over the River Thames. The bridge is connecting the banks of the river. There's a boat crossing under the bridge, and pedestrians on the bridge, and cars visible on the far bank. The fourth dimension of performance is access. Access is the ability to reach other persons, activities, resources, services, information, or places, including the quantity and diversity of the elements which can be reached. It is the extent that all these things are accessible with minimum time and effort. Quoting Lynch, a good environment is a place which affords obvious and easy access to a moderate variety of people, goods, and settings, while this variety can be expanded if a person wishes to expend further energy. Let me pose two questions that Lynch raises to demonstrate access. What is the best place to live? A house with a secluded garden, one step from the center of a great city? And is an ideal house one with a front door onto a lively urban promenade and a back door to a silent countryside? Both have great implications for access. What you see here are big gates. These are the gates of Ashbourne Hall in Manchester in the United Kingdom. The fifth dimension of performance is control. Control is the degree to which the use and access to spaces and activities and their creation, repair, modification, and management are controlled by those who use, work, or reside in them. Control is the territorial occupation of space and time for day-to-day activities and depends upon ownership, where there are spatial rights like right of presence, right to be in a place, right of use and action, rights of modification, right of disposition. The three characteristics of control are congruence, responsibility, and certainty. Congruence is the extent to which the actual user or inhabitants of a space control it in proportion to the degree of their permanent stake in it. User congruence allows for better fit and greater security, satisfaction, and freedom as a consequence of it. Responsibility is a balancing criteria and supposes that those who control a place should have motives, information, and power to do it well. And certainty is the degree to which people understand the control system, can predict its scope, and feel secure with it. Which brings us to Lynch's two meta-criteria of efficiency and justice, which operate on the 5 performance dimensions just described. Justice is the criterion which balances the gains among people, while efficiency balances the gains among different values. The first is efficiency. Efficiency is considered a balancing criteria that relates the level of achievement in some performance to loss in some other. So they help resolve interdimensional conflicts such as a vital environment will often conflict with decentralized user control. The ideal of a vital environment will often conflict with a well-fitted one. Sense is frequently in opposition to adaptability, a fit. Present and future fit are contradictory to each other. Good access for all clashes with local control of territory. And high levels of personal access may cause health problems when referring to cars getting us everywhere and the pollution they create. The second is justice. Justice is the way in which environmental benefits and costs are distributed among persons according to some particular principle, such as equity, need, intrinsic worth, ability to pay, effort expended, potential contribution, or power. So to conclude, what is a good city form? Using all the keywords we just uncovered, a good city form is vital, it is sensible, it is well-fitted, it is accessible, and it is well-controlled. And all of these are achieved with justice and internal efficiency.